Hi, everyone, and welcome to the London Community Week podcast, the official podcast of London Community Week, a global event all about building meaningful long term communities. I'm your host, Kate Bova. Whether you work at a startup, a nonprofit, or a global SaaS brand, if you believe that community is more than a buzzword and plays a real role in growth and connection, then this podcast is for you. This episode is brought to you with the support of our incredible partners led by Community, Gainsight, Circle, Hey Orca, Canva, Bevy, Discourse, and Mansion. Together, they are helping the community industry thrive by providing the tools to grow, engage, and make a real difference and scale. And today on the show, we have Jan Bieler. Jan is a CEO and partner at Glowing Blue. As a master in social and media psychology, former community manager, and head of social media support at Swisscom, he has a lot of experience in building, managing, and developing customer communities. Jan is a winner of several innovation awards in Switzerland, a frequent speaker at conferences, and a lecturer in digital marketing and customer experience design. Jan, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Same. Nice to meet you. Great to be here.
So let's start with you. Could you tell us more about your current role and what communities you are working with right now?
Yes. So Glowing Blue is a small agency. We are located in Switzerland, in Bern, beautiful Bern. We are just 11 people, and we help companies, let's say, from the early stage of a community ideation. I have an idea about a community. We help them to shape the vision of this community, and we then do some experiments with the clients, see if communities work, if there's potential in the market. Then we develop communities for those clients on different frameworks. We use classical market SaaS platforms. We work with open source platforms. We also have license of an own open source platform. And we also help clients to, get new people into the role of a community manager, because a lot of those clients, they start with community, and then they have to also find the role or define the role of the community. That's what we do, like from the early idea to development, the whole chain of community. And we work with a lot of communities. I think we work with over 100 communities. We currently have like 35 projects in parallel. And it's everything. It's from communities around tech people for softwares. We have a passionate book lover community, which has an amazing vibe, amazing engagement rate. And we do a lot of I wouldn't say it's non-profit, but it's not a lot of profit. We just launched an Alzheimer community for people who suffer from dementia here in Switzerland. We just launched it last week. So it's a really big range of from telco communities with 800, almost a million clients, to small, highly engaged book communities and purpose communities. That's what we do. So it's a big range of communities we see.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. That sounds like such a meaningful mission and such a meaningful job. So thank you so much. Actually, how did you first get into community building? It was something that you planned, or did it happen more by accident?
I think it was a little bit of accident, but it was also a little bit of purpose, because I wanted to. It was always a topic that was with me when I did studies in psychology. I already worked, had a paper in the university about online game worlds, and I came into contact with those communities, and then worked at a TV production company, and I had a very fun job because it was a single show. And I was responsible to find new singles in Switzerland that want to participate in the show. So we work with a company that does pictures on parties, and I was with them, and I was asking people, "Hey, are you single? You want to be in our database because we do this show?" And then we started to have events, and the people contacted me, and it was kind of a community. So this was my first really, like, it was not a real community, but it was an experience there. Then I went to a telco company. I worked with premium customers, so I was responsible for the most valuable customers in the market. So I organized events around with those customers. We invited them to special occasions. I wouldn't say it was a real community, but it started to be something like a community. And then over the years, still in this telco, I had the idea of launching a community. I was working in the innovation department, and I said, "Hey, let's try it out." I went to my boss, which is fun stuff. Now my business partner, and asked him, "Listen, I have this idea. Do you let me do this? Launch an online community for our clients?" And he said, "Yeah, okay. I give you 3 weeks. Go." So I found some other people in my company that could develop, and we created a prototype, did some experiments, interviews. There was an official forum from this company, it was the telco company. We contacted the first users, showed them the prototype, and that's the story. So everything went on, and then we decided to went to a very brand new, back then it's 12 years ago, to a very famous community platform. Was one of the first customers in Europe. We went to a hackathon. We had a lot of talks, won some innovation prizes, and everybody else came. And I had an indirect consulting business on community building, and that's how it happened. So it was a story that happened, and I worked at least 12 years in the telco company, and now around 10 years I have my own company doing the same thing again and again.
Such an inspiring 12 years journey and story. So love how organic it was, actually. Yeah, love that. What drives you? What motivates you to, like, what's your why to keeps you motivated and keep going in this space?
I mean, now it's my bread and butter. so, but it's also my passion. That's the good thing. I mean, community is something, to be honest, I mean, you can talk to someone, explain the idea of a community, and you will get his attention. So people are open to this idea of community. It's not so easy to go the real community way to start a community, to start experimenting. But it's also always something positive where you can reach out to people. And they're often willing to pay attention to this topic, and you can start something. You can try something out. That motivates me. It's always new. It's always, every community is different. If you have a book lover community, if you have an Alzheimer community, it's there. Of course, there's stuff that is similar, but it's always motivating. If you have clients that have advanced communities, there's always place to innovate. There's always something you can do. You can try out. I mean, you can work with the community. You can work with those users, and that motivates me. I mean, this is. It's not something that is kind of static. Communities evolve over time. And ultimately, I mean, the whole space of community week in London, meet all the people. It's a friendly crowd. I mean, we are open, we exchange, we help each other, and that's what I love.
Actually, you mentioned London Community Week. That's why especially we are here. It's coming up soon. So could you give us a sneak peek of your talk? What will you be speaking about, and why do you think it's important to talk about that?
I mean, we see a lot that communities are not the most successful if they have big budgets and a lot of resources. It's more about having the right tools, the right methods to find out if your community ultimately will succeed. So that's what I want to tell. How you can start small, how you can do experiments, how you can formulate some hypotheses that you can prove and see if a community will be a success or not. And this is true for the early phase of the community. You have just an idea, you have your blueprint, you have your value proposition, you go out there. But it is also true on the ongoing basis. So if you have new features, new ideas, this is what I want to talk about, how you really iterate and try things out in a time where, it's reality. Budgets are lower, resources are lower. It's even more important, and AI is in the door.
Yeah.
So it is also a threat for communities, in some way, and that's more or less what I will talk about.
Yeah, this sounds incredibly relevant because we will have a lot of colleagues, a lot of friends, a lot of community managers from different fields, and from NGOs, from B2B communities, from SaaS, and so on and so on. So I think it's super important for them to find this topic, to find something relevant for them, for their job. If there is one key insight or one takeaway you hope the audience will leave with after your talk, can you share with us?
Sure. I think ultimately it's the experimental mindset that you have. It's also to say, maybe I think I have the assumption that this is working or this is true. Instead, you can really say, okay, I assume, and I will prove it with an experiment X or with data Y, and that's what I wanted to tell everybody who's listening to my talk. Try to have an experiment mindset. Try things out, and you will discover a lot of new insights and be ultimately more successful. And you don't waste time and money with things that nobody wants. So that's a little bit the essence of what I want to tell.
How do you tie community building to business outcomes? Maybe experimental mindset also helps with something, how to measure the impact to business outcomes, impact from communities. Because you're
Absolutely.
working a lot with different clients, I think you know exactly how it's important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the business outcomes, we see more a shift towards, like outcomes like customer lifetime value, retention, average return per user. So really businesses try to combine those community efforts or community KPIs to what they already have around their clients, other data. But giving an example for a community, for an experimental mindset, we just work with a prototype with a client, on what we do there. We take community data, and process them with an LLM, with an AI model, to make it more accessible for internal stakeholders. Why do we do that? The client found out that if you ask 10 internal people if they know the community, only one or two of them know it. They maybe heard of it, but they never have been there. I mean, maybe almost zero went to the community. It's a big community, as a few 100,000 users, but internally there's no awareness. So what we said, okay, let's have an experiment. Let's try to make the data of the community super accessible for those internal stakeholders. You can go now there and ask question: how often was my product mentioned? How positive was it? Was it negative or positive? What are the different aspects of the discussion? Summarize this discussion. And the idea is to make it really accessible for those stakeholders. And with this, it also will bring out new, business values for those. We don't know if a product manager, if a support manager, what's the value for them in community. And this also, we are in search for new, let's say, KPIs and business values that we can offer to those different stakeholders, with the idea that they might use the community more, be more proactive. We had very good experiences with product managers, for example, on faster insights on problems and bugs, faster reaction times on incidents, discovering new bugs, prioritize features, all this stuff. So this is the idea, and it's an experiment. It took a few hours or a few days, let's say, to set up a prototype like this, make it accessible. And that's the typical example of business goals and experimentation combined.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly relevant. So, looking forward to hear more at the conference. So, guys, our dear colleagues, just come to London to hear Jan and his amazing lecture presentation. So yeah, thank you for sharing. It really resonates me, and I just wanted to come back a bit to your background. Let's talk briefly about learning from failure. Is there a mistake or challenge that taught you an important lesson in your community journey, in your community story?
There are so many. There are so many. We fail. I will also tell. It is also part of my talk that failure is something that we have that happens. Just recently, we had a very big project. It was a big migration. It was something. It was a really a huge project. And the idea was really to make this community happen with those new features, with the migration. And we did a lot of mistakes on prioritizing a lot of features higher than some of the groundwork. We really didn't see that there are hundreds of thousands of users, which really it was a technical thing at the end. We were always concentrating on these cool new features, and we really didn't see that the groundwork was so important to make this thing stable, scalable, and stuff like this. And we didn't have the right focus at this time. And what I learned there again and again in small ways, I learned it many times, to say no and say, okay, what's important in what phase of a community building process. So that's something that we really learned hard. And ultimately, that's also a lot of failures also brought us to the idea to create this process of the lean community cycle, to say, okay, we fail, but we don't fail the hard way. We fail and we learn.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that so openly. Especially, it's so hard to prioritize something that we need to do immediately when you have a lot of ideas, when you want to do a lot of stuff. So
yes.
I understand. Yeah.
Prioritization is the hardest part. It's very hard to prioritize these things.
Yeah. What about the biggest challenge working with your clients or working with potential clients? Because you're working also a lot with leads as your potential clients. Maybe you can also share with us some challenges, maybe in sales process or negotiation process.
We have a very long cycle time. I mean, we as a company, we almost we spend $50 in Google ads, and that's it. Everything else is word to mouth. So we don't do any cold calls. We don't call people just like this. My company is a pure relationship business. Either people reach out to us and ask, let's talk about community. We need help with this and that. Or I reach out in a way, it's a relationship business. So I talk to people. That's what I said before. If I talk to people about community that never really thought about communities or never saw the potential of communities, most of them are open. And again, you can come and say, okay, we start a project that is 500K, or we can say, okay, we invest a few hours together, start a workshop, do some experimentation, and see if there's potential. That's a totally different angle. So most of the people also, it doesn't have to be a high manager that gives a lot of money and a lot of resources to do it. It's also something that organization can do bottom up. Sometimes they have the freedom to start those experiments, and that's the good thing. And that's my way of doing business. It's a relationship business, and I talk to people. I have to understand their problems before I propose anything. I don't go there and this is the solution. I have to listen, I have to hear, I have to experiment, and then we can go on. That's my way of doing businesses and getting new leads.
It's such a beautiful example for different community consultants and community managers who are wanting to do the agency or something like that. To understand your client first and to build long relationship as well. Actually, as it's similar that we are doing with community, we are building long-term relationship. I think
exactly
it's the same frame working
exactly.
with clients.
Yeah.
what's been a proud community moment for you? Maybe some win that still makes you smile or still makes you so proud of doing that project or doing something with your clients?
There are also a lot of examples where yeah, I'm really proud and really have some moments where I think, wow, this is the right thing. I can name two or three.
Yeah.
Just recently we launched a community, but we worked with this client almost for 2 years. So we did a lot of experiments. We talked to existing communities. We really wanted to find out, is there potential for this community? At the end, we decided to make it at the beginning a closed community with a referral program. So they gave some of those people they interviewed in an early phase, they gave access codes, and they can share again access codes. This is kind of this referral program thing. And it was just crazy. It was just crazy. I mean, within hours, we had a few hundred users signing up. We had to adapt the gamification system because they were so active. And all over in Facebook, Reddit, in Instagram, everybody was like, do you have a code? Do you have another code? I want to be part of this community. It was just crazy. So it was a really magic moment, waiting kind of 2 years, knowing this has so much potential, and then it went live. Another example, just recently, I told you about my first community, like my first online community. I attended a super user event a few weeks ago, and there were people that started with me, the community, 12 years ago, more than 12 years ago. And it's the same people. And they asked over the client if can you invite Jan? He's kind of one of the early founders of the community. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And you talk to those people 12 years later, it's just amazing. It's really more than a decade. And of course, I'm on stage on Community Week, which is also very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's truly inspiring. And I love how, like, during so many years, you mentioned about 12 years, you are still so happy and so inspired when you remember about some community moments. So it's amazing time. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I also wanted to ask you a bit about trends because you're working also with different fields that you mentioned, with different clients. And can you share with us some trends or shift in the community world that you are paying close attention to right now, and you see that it matters and other community managers should be more careful or should follow these trends or shifts?
Yeah. Of course, I think you heard it many times. AI. I mean,
Yeah.
just I don't know if you heard it, but Chorus was just one of the biggest SaaS community platforms, was just bought by an AI first company or acquired by AI's first company. Their goal is to bring this community in the AI area. I don't know how this will work out. Will we have bots instead of real humans doing the job in the community? Is community just a bunch of human behavioring bots in the future? I don't know. So this is something I think AI can somehow kill communities. Because they can behave like human, you won't recognize if this is a human being or if it's a bot. And especially for support communities, communities with redundant questions, this is a threat. On the other hand, AI can boost the community to the next level, to the next era. You can use it for translation, for summarization, for moderation, and it makes your job so much easier. And you have the data. I mean, some of the AI models that were trained over the years are trained by community content, so I think there's also a big opportunity. And at the end, if brands invested years in community building, I even have the assumption, the hypothesis that communities can be one of the last corners of the internet where you're absolutely sure, if you do it right, that you're in connection with real humans, where communities are one of those places where those are real humans. They are over years in this community, and this can be a very big competitive advantage. Yeah. Something else I see is this merging of platforms. I mean, a lot of platforms were bought by other platforms. They combined it to customer experience platforms. So it's always the question if big brands and organizations will buy a customer experience suite and the community, how this works, if this one fits all thing really works out. So I think the market is really shifting there. And in the same time, I see a lot of chance for smaller community platforms where the innovation happens. We invest a lot in open source. We have our own open source community. We invest in open source. We have clients that work together, creating features with us, and then we open source them again. I see a lot of potential there to say community managers and community organizations can contribute to open source and build their dream community platform if they want. So I think this is something that might also get bigger over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important observation, especially about AI. I'm not afraid about replacing like humans or AI or something like that, because communities, this is space with real human, and this is big advantage. Of course, we can use AI, but it couldn't replace us, and we can do really huge and powerful communities with people, for people.
Yeah.
And it's a big. I think it's a big adventure of our sphere of community management, community building. So definitely something for us to think about. That. Thank you for sharing. And also just wanted to ask you about advices, because we have a lot of colleagues here from community management, community marketing, community building sphere, and so on and so on. And a lot of them just starting their way in community management. So what's advices or piece of advice you have for guys who are just starting their community journey?
It's just one sentence: start small and experiment. That's it.
Okay, and actually you will tell more during your presentation about experimental mindset. Yeah, and actually finally, if you had to sum up your vision for the future communities in just 3 words, what would they be?
I think it's what I mentioned before. Communities can be one of those really valuable place in the internet where really humans connect. I think you see a bright future of communities in the time of AI. I also think experimenting around communities will be easier. It's more accessible, also because there are automation tools, there are AI models that really help you. And again, also I see a new wave of community platforms that are more and more innovative, also around open source, and I see a bright future in this. And I think this is what I see. This is my vision of the future.
Love that. Loved it. Jan, thank you very much for your time, for your energy, for what are you doing actually with community sphere, community world, with your clients, and helping so much different businesses. It's a really big job, and thank you very much for for your energy, and see you in London actually.
See you in London.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great one. Bye bye.
You too.